Most best MCP servers lists are written by people who installed 3 of them for a blog post. I run 19 MCP servers every day across 3 different AI agents on the same machine: Claude Code, OpenClaw, and Hermes. Some of those servers changed how I work. A few replaced tools I was paying for, and a couple are dead weight I simply have not removed yet. This is not a ranked wish list. These are the MCP servers I actually use, what they do, why they earn their place, and what each one replaced in my workflow. If you are setting up MCP servers for the first time, start with the first few. They will cover most of what you actually need. MCP stands for Model Context Protocol. It is a standard that lets AI tools such as Claude Code, Cursor, and VS Code with Copilot talk to external services through a common interface. The easiest way to think about MCP is like USB for AI. One connector, many devices. Before MCP, you had to build a custom integration every time you wanted your AI agent to communicate with GitHub, your file system, a search engine, or another service. Now you install or configure an MCP server, and the AI can use those tools directly. Some servers run locally on your machine using standard input and output. Others run remotely over HTTP. Most of the MCP servers I use are local because they keep data, credentials, and control closer to home. The important part is not having the largest possible server list. The important part is connecting your AI agent to tools that remove work you repeatedly do yourself. Firecrawl is the first MCP server I would install if I could only choose one. It gives an AI agent the ability to search the web, scrape pages, and return clean Markdown instead of raw HTML. I run it locally in Docker on port 3002. It is the default research tool for Claude Code, my OpenClaw gateway, and Hermes. Before Firecrawl, I manually searched Google, opened pages, copied relevant sections, and pasted them into prompts. That sounds minor. It is not minor when you are doing keyword research, competitor analysis, technical research, or trying to understand what people are actually publishing about a topic. Firecrawl lets the AI perform that research in the background. It can search for sources, retrieve pages, and return useful content in a form the model can work with. I used it to research the article behind this video. The biggest benefit is not that it saves one copy and paste operation. The benefit is that research becomes part of the AI workflow instead of a separate browser task. Firecrawl replaced manual web research for me. That alone makes it worth installing first. The official GitHub MCP server replaced much of my browser workflow for pull requests and issues. It lets Claude Code create branches, open pull requests, comment on issues, search code, and inspect repositories without leaving the terminal. I use it mostly for open source projects and Chrome extensions. Before GitHub MCP, I switched to the browser every time I needed to check a pull request, review comments, inspect issue history, or search through a repository. That context switch broke my flow. Now the AI can read the pull request, review the diff, find related issues, and post comments from the same session where I am writing the code. The important distinction is that GitHub MCP is not just a search box. It gives the AI access to the actual project workflow. That makes it useful for code review, issue triage, release preparation, and repository maintenance. If you write code regularly, GitHub MCP belongs near the top of your list. Filesystem MCP is the boring one that everything else depends on. Anthropic's official file system server gives AI agents controlled access to read and write files on your machine. It is not exciting. It is also the server that can make everything else useless if it is not working correctly. I use file system access across all 3 of my AI agents. OpenClaw and Hermes need it to read project files, write outputs, and manage their own configuration. Claude Code has built-in file access, but the MCP version gives other agents similar capabilities with a consistent permission model. The key word is controlled. You should not give an AI agent unrestricted access to your entire computer without thinking through the consequences. Define the directories it can use. Keep credentials and secret-bearing folders outside the working scope. Give the agent enough access to complete useful work, but no more than necessary. Filesystem MCP is infrastructure. You may not notice it when it works. You definitely notice it when it breaks. Google Search Console, MCP, replaced logging into Search Console for routine analysis. It connects directly to the Google Search Console API. I can ask an AI agent which keywords a site is ranking for and get back actual impressions, clicks, average position, and click-through rate data without opening a browser tab. Before this, I had to log into Search Console, select the property, set the date range, apply filters, inspect queries, and export data. That process was not difficult. It was just repetitive. Now I can ask for the same information conversationally. I also use quick win analysis to find keywords ranking on page 2 that might move to page 1 with a focused content update. That used to be a 30-minute manual process. The useful part is combining Search Console data with the rest of the project context. The AI can compare search performance with existing articles, content plans, and internal link opportunities. That turns analytics into an actual decision support workflow. I run Braid Search alongside Firecrawl as a backup search source. Firecrawl is my primary research tool, but Brave gives me another source when I need to cross-reference results or when a particular site blocks scraping. Brave also handles some image and news searches better than Firecrawl does right now. It did not directly replace one specific tool. It replaced the assumption that one search provider will always be available. Having two search sources gives an AI agent a fallback when one service is down, rate limited, or blocked. That happens more often than people expect. Redundancy is not exciting. It is useful when something fails at the worst possible time. My memory and knowledge graph system replaced a messy collection of notes files. It stores entities and relationships in a local graph database. I use it to give my agents persistent memory across sessions. That includes project context, user preferences, recurring decisions, and information I do not want to repeat every time I start a new conversation. Before this, I maintained a growing collection of markdown files and instruction files. Those files worked, but they required manual updates. The graph handles relationships more naturally. When I tell an agent something important about a project, it can remain available later instead of disappearing when the session ends. This is especially useful when several agents work across the same projects. The goal is not to remember everything. The goal is to preserve the context that actually matters. Good memory reduces repeated explanation. Bad memory creates stale or conflicting instructions. So treat persistent memory as a system that needs review, not as a magic replacement for judgment. The YouTube Transcript MCP server is one of the most useful research tools in the stack. It pulls transcripts from YouTube videos. I use it constantly for content research. If someone publishes a 45-minute tutorial on a topic I am writing about, I can retrieve the transcript and have an AI agent summarize the important points in about 30 seconds. That is faster than watching the entire video with a notepad open. I still watch the good videos. The transcript simply helps me decide which videos deserve that time. It is especially useful for tutorials, interviews, product reviews, and long technical presentations. Instead of treating every video as something you must consume from beginning to end, you can first extract the information structure. Then you can watch the sections that actually matter. Desktop Commander is the bridge between an AI that writes code and an AI that actually uses a computer. It lets Claude interact with a Windows desktop. That includes taking screenshots, clicking buttons, typing into applications, managing processes, and handling tasks that do not have a clean API. I use it for browser automation, test and user interface changes, and managing long-running processes. It is the server that makes non-technical people stop and pay attention. Watching an AI literally operate the mouse and keyboard feels different from watching it generate code, but it also needs stronger guardrails. Desktop control is powerful because it can affect real applications and real files. Use it deliberately. Confirm the target window. Avoid giving it access to sensitive applications unless necessary. And never assume that a successful click means the intended result actually occurred. Desktop Commander is useful when the workflow crosses the boundary between text and the actual graphical desktop. I run 3 YouTube channels, so vidIQ's MCP server has a practical role in my workflow. It lets me pull channel statistics, keyword research, trending video data, and competitor analysis directly into an AI session. Without it, I would jump between the vidIQ dashboard, YouTube Studio, and my content calendar. Now I can bring those questions into one conversation. For example, I can ask what a channel should create next. Then compare that idea with existing content, search opportunities, and competitor patterns. The MCP server is faster for content planning sessions because the AI can cross-reference the data with the rest of the project. I still use the browser extension for quick checks. The MCP connection becomes more valuable when I want analysis instead of one isolated metric. That is the pattern across this entire list. The tool becomes useful when it connects data to a decision. Do not install everything you find on GitHub. Every MCP server you add increases startup time and token overhead. Your AI agent has to load the tool descriptions for every connected server at the beginning of a session. I learned this the hard way after connecting more than 25 servers to OpenClaw and watching it slow to a crawl. Start with 3 to 5 servers that match what you actually do. If you write code, start with GitHub and Filesystem. If you do content work, start with Firecrawl and YouTube transcript. If you manage websites, Search Console may be a better next choice. Add more only when you hit a real gap. Do not install a server just because a Reddit post said it was cool. More tools do not automatically create a better AI workflow. They can create more startup time, more configuration problems, more security exposure, and more opportunities for failure. If you are using Claude Code, setup usually starts with an MCP add command. For Docker-based servers like Firecrawl, start the container first and then point the MCP configuration at it. For other servers, the setup may use an npx command or a local binary. The configuration can live globally or inside a specific project, depending on whether you want the server available everywhere or only in one repository. Each entry usually specifies the command, arguments, and environment variables. Keep API keys and credentials outside prompts and source files. One thing nobody tells you is that a server that crashes or hangs can block the entire AI session. Keep your server list lean. Test each server individually before trusting it in a real workflow. And when a server stops working, remove it temporarily instead of letting a broken integration slow down everything else. For beginners, I would start with 3 MCP servers: Firecrawl for web research, GitHub MCP if you write code, Filesystem MCP for controlled project file access. Those 3 cover a surprising number of practical use cases. Use them for a week. Pay attention to what work still feels repetitive. Then add the next server based on that real gap. Do not start by installing 19 servers. I did that, so you do not have to. Do MCP servers cost money? Most are free and open source. Some services, such as hosted Firecrawl, offer paid tiers. You can also run some components locally, where the cost is the computer and the services required to keep them running. The bigger cost is usually complexity. Every new server adds configuration, maintenance, security considerations, and token overhead. How many MCP servers should you run at once? For most people, 5 to 10 is a reasonable range. Every server adds tool descriptions to the AI session. Past 15 or so, many users start noticing slower startup, higher token usage, or more difficult troubleshooting. Can MCP servers work with tools other than Claude Code? Yes, MCP is an open standard. Cursor, VS Code with GitHub Copilot, Windsurf, Klein, and other AI tools support it. The exact configuration format may vary, but the general server concept remains the same. The best MCP server is not the one with the most impressive README. It is the one that removes a real, recurring task from your workflow. For me, Firecrawl replaced manual web research. GitHub MCP replaced browser-based repository work. Filesystem MCP gives multiple agents controlled project access. Search Console MCP replaced repetitive analytics sessions. YouTube Transcript replaced watching every research video from beginning to end. Desktop Commander connects the AI to the actual Windows desktop. And vidIQ brings channel research into the same conversation as content planning. Start small. Choose tools that match work you already do. Keep the server list lean. Review permissions. And add another MCP server only when you can clearly explain what repeated task it will replace. That is how MCP becomes useful. Not by collecting integrations, by connecting an AI assistant to the work that matters. This is Gigawerx. Follow for practical AI tools, automation, and project management workflows that are tested in the real world.